All right, well, hi again and welcome everyone. My name is Rachel Karachi. I'm the Associate Director in the Graduate School. It's nice to see some people who are virtually, at least in the room. While we're getting started, we are going to go ahead and virtually go around our room so that you all know who is here today and presenting. So Amy?
Hello, welcome. Thank you for being here this afternoon. My name is Amy Dennison. I am the Director of MSW Student Services in the School of Social Work at ISU. So my role is the recruitment, admissions, and advising for all of our Masters of Social Work students. So I'm so glad that you're all here to join us and learn about our MSW program, and we hopefully will be able to answer any questions that you all have. Danica, Dr. Avant, my apologies.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our open house. As Amy stated, I am Dr. Danica Avant. I am the interim director of the School of Social Work, and my role here is really to serve as a support, to lead our school, and hopefully help you all to make a great decision and joining us one day.
And Sona?
I'm Sona Chalian. I'm the Director of Field Education. So I work with all MSW students to get placed into your practicum placement.
All right. Thank you all very much. So Rachel's going to share just a little bit about ISU and the ISU community for those of you who may not be familiar with our campus.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, welcome. We're excited to welcome you to Illinois State and the Graduate School and knowing what our experience looks like. But just overall, I always like to share so people kind of have an idea of who we are here at Illinois State. So we were founded in 1857. We are Illinois' first public institution. When we were founded as Illinois State Normal University, and normal universities at the time were founded as teacher colleges. So really our founding principles are on education, but we are more than that. We have over 130 different graduate programs at the university. We have about 2,700 graduate students as a whole. So our graduate student population is fairly small. And I know that, later in our session today, they'll talk a little bit about what the program looks like in terms of the students who are in the social work program. And then just a couple of other things I always like to note here, our female to male ratio, we have about a quarter of our students do come from an underrepresented background. We have nearly almost all of the states represented at the university, and we have 74 different countries that students come from as well. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Amy, thanks. We are a nationally ranked university by US News and World Report, and we are also a top 10 best college town. So for some of you, depending on where you're coming in from today, many of you may either, currently reside in the area, in the central Illinois area. And if you don't, I always like to give you a little bit of an update, on kind of what our university looks like and that as well. The other thing I always like to mention is we have a lot of employers that do come and recruit our students. And our career services is doing an amazing job right now in terms of, still hosting virtual events with our employers and our students to connect them to employment opportunities after those students have graduated or will graduate. So we're excited. I know that obviously COVID has put somewhat of we're all in a different situation than we may have been at this time last year. But there have been, at least we have the technology and the advances today that we do have, so we can still connect on that level. So I'm excited to talk about that. And then last but not least, our students do receive tuition waivers if you do receive a graduate assistantship. And I think we talk a little bit more about that specifically later in our session as well. I do always like to talk about the Bloomington Normal community and, what that looks like, and, about our community itself. Hey, Amy, you can get perfect. Go to the next slide. Yeah. Our community itself is about 132,000 individuals. So, it's a small enough community that you can really get a chance to get to know individuals who live here, but it's still big enough that, it's like a little big city, I kind of call it. So it's, and we have this awesome college atmosphere within, the confines of Illinois State. And aside from that, we have some really large employers who reside here in Bloomington and Normal. For instance, State Farm, their corporate location and their regional office is located here in the Bloomington Normal community, along with Country Financial, which is another large financial services institution. And, so it's nice enough to know that, yes, we have, college atmosphere, should you desire to want that. But at the same point in time, we are a family friendly community outside of the university itself as well. Just steps away from the campus is also Uptown Normal. And Uptown Normal is where students can find things like, places to eat, places to shop. There's this really cool Uptown Normal theater, very vintagey. I like to go there, especially during the holidays. They play some really cool old movies. But they, the area itself it's like I said, it's easy to get around. And we also have a transportation center that is located in Uptown Normal. So for some of you, if you are trying to take a bus or a train back to a different location like Chicago or St. Louis, you can very easily do that within that transportation center, which is located very close to campus. We're also a number 3 best, smallest metro area for job-seeking college graduates. And so what that means is that we, like I said, we have this mix between, who resides here in the Bloomington Normal community. And I will say we've had a lot of individuals that have decided to stay here after graduating from Illinois State. For whatever reason, hopefully they can find it sounds like they're finding job opportunities here. And then last but not least, we're just a short ride from Chicago and St. Louis, and we are very centrally located in the state of Illinois. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over now to Amy Dennison, who's going to talk a little bit more about our MSW program.
Thank you, Rachel, for sharing about ISU and the Bloomington Normal community. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our MSW program, our specializations, the application process, and hopefully answer some of the questions that you all may have. Dr. Avant and Sona hopefully will chime in as well with any additional information that they can add to supplement what we're sharing with you today. So in our MSW program, we offer 2 areas of specialized practice. The first specialization is child and family practice, and the child and family practice is a rather broad area of practice. It's going to focus on 4 key social problems that we are seeing in society today, really looking at mental illness, intimate partner violence, poverty, and substance use. Students who choose the child and family practice specialization may find themselves working in child welfare, clinical mental health, hospital settings, working with the older or aging population. Students may choose to pursue more macro social work where they're working at like the state or government level, working on policy type social work. So there's a number of directions that a student could go in their career if they choose the child and family practice specialization. The other option that we offer for specialization is school social work. And this is for students who want to work in the school setting in the K through 12 grades to work with students and really provide that additional social, emotional, behavioral support to students who may just need that additional support to be successful in the school settings. You'll be working with the teachers and the school staff, psychologists, principals, administrators, really just to wrap around those students and provide those support services. Could include counseling services with individuals or groups, and even some additional supports for families as well. The school social work specialization is going to prepare you to obtain the professional educator license that is required in Illinois to practice as a school social worker. You will complete the exam. You'll take the exam that's required to receive your school social work endorsement, and that's what makes you eligible to obtain employment in Illinois as a school social worker. So our program is going to prepare you to meet all of the credentials that you need for that license in Illinois. And then the other option that we have, which may or may not apply to anyone that's on our meeting today, is for students who already have their Master's of Social Work degree and are looking to come back just to get that school social work credential. So if you have already completed your Master's degree and you want to get the school social work credential, we do offer an opportunity for students to do the post MSW school social work graduate certificate, where you would come and just take those school social work specific classes and do an internship in school social work, so you could obtain the professional educator license with the school social work endorsement. Dr. Avant or Sona, anything either of you would like to add about the specializations before we move on? Okay. Sorry, bear with me, my technology is being slow. Okay, so we also have the option of some additional enhancements for your plan of study. We offer a social aspects of aging graduate certificate, and this is for students who may have a particular interest in working in the area of older or aging adults. This graduate certificate is offered through the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, and you would take some specific courses that have been identified through sociology and anthropology that focus on the aging population, and this would supplement your MSW degree, giving you that kind of enhanced, specialized focus on working with the older and the aging population. One of the other graduate certificates that is available is in Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies, and this comes through the Women's and Gender Studies program. And this graduate certificate really looks at how class, sexuality, race, ethnicity, ability, age, how all of those intersect, and really focuses on the women's and gender the women's and gender specific identities. And again, that graduate certificate can supplement your MSW degree. So you would take some specific classes that would be approved through the Women's and Gender Studies program in addition to your MSW. So you would take those, you would do those things concurrently and meet the requirements for that graduate certificate. And then we also have an option for a child welfare specialist license preparation. So if you are interested in working in child welfare, we offer 2 child welfare elective courses that you could take. Those 2 courses will prepare you to complete all of the exams that you would need to pass in order to be a child welfare specialist. And so when you complete your degree, it would make you incredibly marketable if you were interested in working in child welfare, because those exams and that training that you would get through the 2 courses typically can take 3 to 6 months upon hire in child welfare. So you would come into employment having already completed all of that training versus being hired and have to take 3 to 6 months for the training. And so in child welfare, there's a constant demand for new employees because child welfare is an incredibly demanding field, and you would come to that position prepared to begin working immediately. And so it's a really great opportunity if you're interested in working in child welfare. Just some overview of our program requirements. So we offer both an advanced standing program and a full program. Our advanced standing program is for students who have completed a BSW degree, a bachelor's in social work, from a CSWE accredited program. If you are advanced standing, it is a 30 credit hour program, and you would complete a 700-hour specialist practicum placement during your final year of the program. If you come to the program with an undergraduate degree in a discipline other than social work, you would enter what we would call our full program, and it would be a 60 credit hour program. For you, you would complete a 400-hour generalist practicum placement over a summer semester, and then you would complete a 700-hour specialist practicum placement during your final year of the program. And Sona is going to talk about the field practicums in just a little bit, so we'll get into more detail about that. Our program is accredited as an in-person program. We are currently offering classes remotely due to the safety precautions of COVID-19. However, as soon as it is safe for us to return to in-person course delivery, we will be returning to courses in person. We are not an online program. As I said, we are accredited as an in-person program. So at this point, we anticipate that spring semester will be largely remote courses, but beyond that, it's really difficult for us to predict what the mode of delivery is going to be. But if you are looking for an online program, we are not a 100% online program. We are an in-person program, and we'll move towards in-person classes as soon as it's safe for us to do so. The majority of our classes meet one time per week, typically in the evenings from 5:30 to 8:20. So most of your classes you would have one time per week in the evening. And so this is a pretty accommodating schedule for most individuals for either working or holding graduate assistantship positions or fulfilling other requirements during the day. So I'm going to let Sona talk about the field practicum experience.
Thank you, Amy. So as Amy stated, there's if you come in to the MSW program with a BSW undergraduate degree, then you would go directly into you will complete one placement, which is your specialist placement. If you don't have an undergraduate degree in social work, then you would have to do a generalist placement, which is in the summer from about mid-May through mid-August. It's 400 hours. And as you can see, it is almost a full-time job. While you're doing your practicum placement, you'll take a seminar class, which supports your experience. So you'll have assignments through that course, and you'll also register for a course that's the placeholder for your practicum experience. Then your specialist placement will be a fall and spring placement. It is at the same agency for the entire placement. You complete the 700 hours, which is about 22 to 25 hours per week. It's 350 hours per semester. And again, you have your seminar class that you're taking at that time, which supports your experience. You will have some assignments through that course, as well as, again, another course that is the placeholder for your practicum placement. And the whole process that we go through together. I notice there's some folks that are in our undergrad program, so some of you are familiar with this, but we go through this placement process together. I have an individual meeting with you one-on-one. You'll get a presentation of what that process looks like. You'll identify the agencies you're interested in. And then everything initially goes through me. I'm the initial communicator with the agencies. I send them your information, which is a resume and a general questionnaire that you complete. And then you schedule your interviews, and there's a timeline for everything that's happening. And we go through it together. and things are very straightforward. And then it's a matching process. You'll each be interviewing with 2 agencies, and then you'll rank order your preference. And then the agencies will also rank order. So if they interview 3 students, they're going to identify rank order who they think is the best fit from first, second, and third. I know that's a really quick general overview, but just to kind of give you an idea of the flow of things. And then I'm always available for folks to ask questions. If you want to ask questions and meet with me prior to starting that process, you're more than welcome to. I will mention one other thing. There is the possibility of completing your practicum within your place of employment if you're working in an agency that's a social service agency. And again, I walk through that process with you, but to give you a brief overview of what that looks like, you would have to have the opportunity for new learning experiences. So let's say you're in a child welfare agency and you're a case manager. So that's great. That means you're already having a lot of social work experiences, and then looking at what would be the new learning opportunities for you as you moved into your practicum placement. And you work through that with your immediate supervisor and then whoever's going to supervise your practicum placement. Again, there's a form that you complete, and you and I still meet initially to kind of map out, see what that may look like. Then you meet with your agency folks, and then we all have a meeting with all of us together to make sure it's going to meet the requirements and what it's going to look like. So it's very much a process we go through together. It's nothing that I can't do it without you, and you can't do it without me. And so we get through it working with each other. I believe that is all I have.
Thank you, Sona. So we're going to talk about the application process. So we are currently accepting applications for enrollment for next academic year. We only enroll students in the fall. So our application is open. We are accepting applications until March 1st. Regarding application materials, we will accept unofficial transcripts. If you are accepted and admitted into the program, then you will be required to submit official transcripts at that time. Additional materials, there's an essay or a personal statement, and the guidelines for that can be found on our website. We also ask for a resume and then 2 letters of recommendation. Regarding the letters of recommendation, they can be academic, they can be from volunteer experience, they can be from paid employment, really just anybody that can speak to your abilities as a potential graduate student, your abilities as a potential social worker. There's some additional questions that we look for in our recommendation letters that can be found on our website as well. Information for international students applying. In addition to the application materials that I just mentioned, you will also need to submit English proficiency. Rachel, is that still required? Yes, okay. You will also need to submit English proficiency, your passport, and then you will also submit financial documents as well. And you can find additional information about international admissions at the website that is listed there. So just a few items regarding paying for graduate school, since we know that is something that everybody has to consider as they plan for applying. Rachel mentioned briefly earlier graduate assistantships. Many of our students are able to obtain graduate assistantship positions on campus. Essentially what a graduate assistantship position is you obtain employment somewhere on campus, and in exchange for your employment, you receive a tuition waiver in addition to a monthly stipend. There's different types of graduate assistant positions. There's research assistants, there's teaching assistants, there's administrative assistants. So each type of position has different requirements about what the work will look like. And then each type of assistantship also has different requirements for how many hours per week you will work. Typically, graduate assistant positions are either 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, or 28 hours a week. The most that a graduate assistant can work is 28 hours a week. So those are things that you'll want to consider if you're applying for a graduate assistant position. How many hours can you work during the week with the schedule that you are going to have regarding classes and internships? Many of our students are successful at finding graduate assistantship positions outside of the School of Social Work. Unfortunately, we are not able to offer graduate assistantship positions to all of our social work students as much as we would love to have that opportunity. We just don't, but our students are really successful at finding positions in other areas of campus. For example, we've had students who have had graduate assistant positions in the diversity advocacy office and the tutor center and financial aid and a number of other departments across campus where you're still learning very valuable professional skills and still receiving those benefits of a graduate assistantship. So if you are looking for a graduate assistantship position, I would encourage you to look beyond just the social work department and consider the opportunities that are available across campus. We do also offer tuition waivers within the Department of Social Work. We have a relatively small pot of money that we're able to issue each year to students. It's based on an application, and we're looking at financial need and what other sources of support students are receiving. Typically, those go out, the applications go out right before fall semester starts, and then right before spring semester, and right before summer semester. So if you are admitted to the program, I always send out reminders to students just to let them know when tuition waiver applications are open. There are some scholarship opportunities available as well. We do have one within the School of Social Work that is available to students who are non-traditional over the age of 25 and have already taken at least one semester of social work courses. So for those of you who fall into that category, you can find additional information about that scholarship on our School of Social Work website. There are also scholarship opportunities available on the graduate school website and then on the College of Arts and Sciences website. And so I would encourage you just to explore those websites and look at the different scholarship opportunities to see which you may be available or which you may qualify for, and apply for as many opportunities as you do qualify for. And then there's always financial aid available, which could include student loans or student employment on campus. Just a little bit more regarding the graduate assistantships we talked about. They do come with 100% of a tuition waiver during the academic year. So typically graduate assistantship positions are on an academic year contract. You typically start in August and end in May. The tuition waiver covers the fall semester, the spring semester at 100% tuition waiver, and then up to 12 credit hours for the summer following that appointment. 45% of our students are able to secure graduate assistantship positions, and then it does also include a monthly income, whether that would be an hourly wage or a monthly stipend. It varies on the different types of positions. You are eligible to start applying for graduate assistant positions as soon as your application is submitted. Once you submit your application to the program, you will be assigned a university ID number, which you will need to apply for graduate assistant positions. So as soon as your application to the program is submitted, then you can start applying for graduate assistantship positions. And you can find all of the GA postings on the HR website that is listed here. I would also encourage you to take a look at the graduate assistant handbook, and that will give you additional information about who is eligible for a GA position, more information about the compensation and the different types of GA positions. Rachel, anything you want to add about GA positions?
So one thing I would say is just a little tip, look often and look early, because it's definitely one of those things that you do need to, constantly keep checking. And I would say this time of year, there's probably not a ton out there, but come January, February, March, you'll definitely have a lot more positions to look through. So it will take some time to review those positions, figure out which ones you might be eligible for or interested in. And it is basically like, Amy said, it's basically like applying for a job. So make sure that you have those materials available.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay. I know we just gave you all a lot of information, and it's really intended just to be an overview of the program and the application process, but I did want to open it up for questions if there are any that anybody has that we can answer for you today.
Amy, it looks like there is a question that is someone has, Amelia. Is the limitation regarding work hours only for assistantships, or are there limitations on working hours outside of the program?
So the limitation on the hours that I addressed is specific to the assistantships. The university has set the limit of hours that an assistant can work, a graduate assistant can work at 28. The program does not have a policy regarding how many hours a student can work outside of an assistantship position. I would just encourage you to consider your entire schedule, your self-care, your all of your responsibilities when you're looking at applying for an assistantship or applying for additional employment outside of assistantships. Just really considering what your availability is. Graduate work can be rigorous, and depending on whether you're looking at going as a full-time student or a part-time student, what your plan of study is going to look like, how many days a week you're going to be in class, if you're doing your practicum as well. There's a number of factors to consider in terms of what your individual plan of study is going to look like. So I would just encourage you to consider all of that if you are looking at employment off campus as well. Dr. Avant or Sona, anything you would add to that?
The only thing I would emphasize is being very aware of when you're going into your practicum placement and the number of hours you will need to work for your practicum placement, because it is additional hours, and there's still only 24 hours in the day. So kind of making sure that you are being realistic in what you can do given what all you have on your plate at any given time.
Thanks, Sona. I was actually going to touch on balance, but that was perfect. So yes, self-care is important.
All right, well, we do have another question that came in, and if you all could shed some light on, like, what does the review process look like? Obviously you can't, talk specifics, maybe internally what that looks like, but can you talk about how many students get accepted? There probably are a number of individuals in the room today who are also current BSW students. And so can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, thank you, Rachel. So we do all of our admission reviews as a committee. The committee is comprised of both faculty and staff within the School of Social Work. So each applicant is reviewed holistically. So we're looking at all of the application materials that are submitted. We're looking at the personal statement, we're looking at the transcripts, we're looking at the GPA, we're looking at the recommendation letters, we're looking at your previous service experience. So we're looking at all of those things, and we're making recommendations as a committee. We typically receive anywhere between 80 and 100 applications each year. We typically accept around 40 students. There's a little bit of flexibility in there, just kind of depending on what our program numbers are each year, but typically we accept about 40 students. So we have about a 50% acceptance rate. We do not necessarily give preference to students who have an undergraduate degree in social work or who do not have an undergraduate degree in social work. We're looking at each student individually and really trying to find the students who are going to be the best fit for the program and who we feel like can bring the most to the program. We want students who we believe are going to be successful as social workers and who can bring diversity, who can bring skills, who can bring knowledge and experience. And so we're considering all of those factors when we make our decisions.
Thank you. I don't see any other open questions. So of course, you're certainly welcome to go ahead and put those in the Q&A. Amy, I'll let you go ahead and mention connecting with you.
So if anybody does have additional questions or wants to set up a time to talk specifically about your what your plan of study might look like or choosing a specialization that might be appropriate for you. When you do apply for a specialization. So if you want to talk through what might be the best fit for you, I'm happy to do that. Feel free to reach out, either email or phone call. And I'm happy to answer any additional questions that anyone might have after the session is over.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for all of our attendees for being here today. I also want to thank individuals who are here to represent the School of Social Work. And as Amy mentioned, feel free to reach out if you do have any questions. You will be receiving a follow-up email after this session with additional information. And we hope you all have an awesome afternoon. Thanks for being here.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Have a great day.